Let's go.
Welcome to the Trusted Leader Show. I'm your host, David Horsager. Join me as I sit down with influential leaders from around the world to discuss why leaders and organizations fail, top tactics for high performance, and how you can become an even more trusted leader.
Welcome to the Trusted Leader Show. I'm Kent Svensson, producer of the Trusted Leader Show. And for this week's episode, we feature an exclusive clip from the 2022 Trusted Leader Summit, where Cassandra Worthy, founder and CEO of Change Enthusiasm Global, keynote speaker, author, and consultant, took to the stage to discuss her 3-step strategy for change enthusiasm. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Cool, so let's start with the why, right? So why should you care? Why not just get into your phone? Why not just walk outside of the room, right? Why is this message relevant? So for me, I see your why to be threefold, okay? The first part of your why being that we are living in an ever-evolving, hugely dynamic world. If I were to ask you to raise your hand if you could name at least one change that has impacted your business in the past year, who could do that? Who could give me one change? Yeah, everyone, right? Everyone. We're living in such a highly evolved and ever dynamic world that will demand us to be agile and change ready. It's the reality of no matter what business you're in, what organization you're a part of. Change is constant. We've all heard that, and it's real. And I think it's been made very real over these past couple years. Now, the second part of your why is a data point that I've experienced in my own personal life, as well as seen across my clients all over the world. And that is the emotions of change are real. They cannot be denied. Not only emotions like excitement and anticipation, but also those more difficult emotions like fear, like frustration, like anger. These emotions are real and cannot be denied in ourselves nor in those around us. Okay, now the last part of your why is what I feel to be the most compelling. And that is that you have the power to control how you experience change and how you inspire trust when you're going through and leading through change. It's up to you. You have that power. It's your choice. And what you're going to be learning over the next 50 or so minutes are some tools, some skills that you can leverage when you're in that seat of choice, in that seat of power to help you move forward, to grow through change and nurture that all-important element of trust when you're going through change. Okay? So hopefully those reasons are relevant and I haven't lost any of you. I didn't hear any doors opening, so I think we're good. We're going to keep rocking. All right, so let's start with the mindset. Okay, this is a growth mindset, and it's a mindset that I've coined change enthusiasm, right? Change enthusiasm. So what is it, right? I'm sure some of y'all looking up at the screen thinking, okay, how is this any different from being a change agent or a change optimist? She just put in that little cute word at the end of change with no real meat behind it. Well, if you're thinking that, you couldn't be further from the truth, because this is actually a workable strategy. And it's a strategy that's worked through the practice of 3 simple steps. And those steps are the signal, the opportunity, and the choice. All right? And think of it like a traffic light, the red light being the signal, the yellow light being the opportunity, and the green light being the choice. Right? The signal, the opportunity, and the choice. Thank you all so much. You've been amazing. I'm, of course, kidding. I joke with you. Now, I'm actually going to unpack this. I want to share a story with you on how I came to cultivate it and put it into practice in my own life. But before I do, I want y'all to engage with me. All right? So I heard the yayas. I hear a lot of energy out here, but I want to keep that going. So by show of hands, who in here has seen the movie Psycho? Either the original or the remake. Okay, a handful of y'all. Now, for those of y'all looking concerned and sideways at me, this is not where the presentation takes a horrible turn left, okay? Everyone's fine, everyone's safe. But for those of you who have seen that movie, you remember that one scene in the film? It's probably the most memorable scene of the whole movie, the shower scene. Y'all remember that really chilling, stabby music that they play? Ring, 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 ring. Yes? Y'all remember this? I see you grinning. Yes. So listen, we're going to do, whenever I point to you, when I'm telling the story, I want everyone to do their loudest and best rendition of that chilling, stabby music. Okay? Now we all going to practice this. I'm going to count to 3. We're all going to practice it because I don't want to be the only one up here standing here looking silly. Okay? So on the count of 3, everyone's loudest and best. Ring, ring. Okay? We ready? Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Ring, 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 ring. Yes, I love it. I get chills every time. I love it. So remember, when I point to you, that's the energy, that's the motion that I want you to give. Cool? Cool. All right. So my very first major change challenge in my professional life came after I've been working at Procter & Gamble for about 3.5, 4 years. And I transitioned into a recently acquired business. Now, this is a multi-billion-dollar acquisition, so it was a really big deal. And upon transferring, I was told I was being brought in not only to help continue delivering breakthrough innovation, but also to help integrate parent company tools and processes into that technical community. Now, I was naive in thinking that this is going to be something similar to work I'd done in the past, right? I created tools, I brought them to life in other businesses in that parent company. But day one, I walked into a completely different business culture. The language was different. The behaviors were different. The cultural norms were different, right? Those common norms that I had grown so accustomed to and that had served me so well up until that point just did not exist. And on top of that, despite my very best intentions, the use of those tools and processes that I was supposed to bring to life in that business was met with what I'll call great adversity. I was lost. I was frustrated, and I felt like a fish out of water. And then to add insult to injury, I discovered one day that a colleague of mine had shared my results, my data, my conclusions and recommendations with senior leadership, not only without my not being in the room, but without even acknowledging that it was all my work. And upon hearing this, of course, I shared it with my immediate manager, and they just simply brushed it off, said, don't worry about it, it's not that big of a deal. Yes, I love this. He goes, boo! Yes, this is the signal, right? It's these feelings, these emotions. I felt resentful towards my colleague. I felt so angry and frustrated with my manager because at Procter & Gamble day one in that culture, you were taught the importance of your pie. Pie meaning performance, image, and exposure. And so here someone was stealing slices of my pie. And with every passing day, I became more and more disengaged in my work because my manager could care less. And I was looking for ways to escape. And that's what this signal denotes. It's these feelings, these emotions, the fear, the frustration, the anger, the anxiety, the feelings you just want to run away from, the feelings you just want to escape. In fact, as I think about all of you in your respective businesses and everything that you've been through over these past couple years and everything that lies ahead in the months and years to come, I'm certain some of you have felt some of these emotions. And if you have, I want you to turn to your neighbor right now and tell them, good gracious, yes. Talk to them, tell them about it. Yeah, I see some of y'all starting to tell stories. Okay, all right, calm yourselves. We don't get through this, but we've all been there, right? We've all felt these emotions. And if you have, if you're one of the ones who just shouted to your neighbor, good gracious, yes, and then told a story, let me be the first to say, congratulations. You got the signal, and it means something very big is happening for you. Well, for me, back then, I was like all of you in the room. I hadn't yet created, let alone started to practice this whole mindset of change enthusiasm. So I was left to sink in that mental downward spiral. The brightest part of my day was lunch because I would sit with a handful of other parent company colleagues who had transitioned in, and we would vent, we would commiserate, we would talk about how horrible things were. I was very quickly reaching a breaking point and really looking for any opportunity to escape. Well, in a last-ditch effort, I decided to reach out to a mentor. Now, she was a director at the time, and she was Heritage Parent Company. So in my mind, she was the solution to right every wrong in my work experience. Because not only was she in a position of influence, but she also would have the capacity to understand where I was coming from, unlike my line management. So, I got on her calendar, got together an agenda, got together what I felt to be 3 very actionable help requests. Although, y'all know hindsight's 2020, right? Hindsight 2020. So in hindsight, those help requests might have well have read, number 1, fire this dude. Number 2, fire my manager. And number 3, promote me so I can fire these other 8 people I'm struggling with. Y'all don't judge me. Don't judge me. I was younger. Regardless, we met, I'm going through the agenda, talking to the help request. And really by the end, I'm just venting to this woman. And as I'm wrapping up, she looks at me and she says, Cassandra, I want to offer you some advice. You can either get bitter or you can get better. It's your choice. Whew, you talk about signaling emotions. Now, of course, I responded in kind, thank you very much, but as I'm getting up and leaving her office, I'm fuming. I'm fuming, and I'm thinking to myself, my choice? It's not my choice. I'm not the one in a position of influence. It's her, not me. And she wasn't listening to me. And so I made the decision that I was going to keep looking for any way to escape, and I was actually going to quit. I was going to quit the company. But then something happened. Those words that she said, bitter or better, they stayed with me. And over the next several days, I started to embrace this idea that I had power, that I had control and say over my own work experience. And the more that I stepped into that idea, I stepped into a major moment of opportunity.
Most training and development initiatives don't last or even solve the root problem hindering an organization. That's where TrustEdge certification comes in. TrustEdge certified partners are equipped with a suite of tools to identify, benchmark, and close gaps in trust for good. Because when you solve the real issue, you get measurable results and a culture where people actually want to make an impact. So whether you're a trainer, a manager, an HR executive, or a leader in learning and development, check out trustedgeplatform.com and see how you can start solving the root issue and get lasting results in your organization. And now back to the show.
Step 2. I had just reached step 2 of the strategy of change enthusiasm, the yellow light. In fact, this is a good place for me to take a little quick aside and get to know you all a little bit better. All right, so I want y'all to do me a favor. I want you to think about yourselves in your car, you're driving, and you approach a traffic light, and it turns yellow. And in that moment, I hear y'all laughing already. And in that moment, I want you to signal with your fingers the behavior that you're doing when you're behind that wheel, okay? So I want you to give me a number 1 if you're slowing down. Safety first, you got your seatbelt on. I got one in the room. I got 2 right here. Okay, I appreciate y'all, okay. All right, now I want you to give me number 2 if you're flooring it, because you got, what's your name back here in the green dress? Veronica was like, I know exactly what I'm doing. I don't need to know number 3. I'm coming back to you, Veronica. All right, keep your hands up, you number 2. Now give me number 3 if it depends, right? It depends. Okay, I see a lot of 3s. Some of y'all stand committed to your 2s like Veronica. Veronica, I gotta ask, what kind of car do you drive? A Chevy Traverse. She thought about it too. A Chevy Traverse. What color is it? Black. Black on black. When y'all are leaving the conference, just look out for a black Chevy Traverse. We don't know what Veronica's about to do. I'm just kidding with you. But honestly, you know what we're doing in this time? What we're doing in this time? We're in a decision-making process, right? We're weighing options, exploring what's possible. How much distance do I have between me and the light, right? How fast am I going? Are there any children or squirrels that I don't want to run over, right? And really, what are we thinking? I don't know about Veronica, but what are we thinking? Are there cops? Are there cops? Like, what's really going to be the consequence if I run this thing, right? But ultimately, yes. Ultimately, this is a decision-making process, right? Weighing options, exploring what's possible. And that's exactly what step 2 of the strategy of change enthusiasm is all about, right? You've recognized these feelings as a signal. You've accepted their invitation into your opportunity to learn, to grow and evolve. And then you weigh in options, exploring what's possible for you to milk that opportunity for all it's worth. Yeah? So for me back then, having let those words of wisdom resonate, bitter or better, I saw a couple options, all right? I could either remain resigned, despising going into the office, resenting the majority of my colleagues, basically in a state of misery, looking for any opportunity to quit, or I could choose to trust that despite their behavior, they had my best interests at heart, the one that shared my results. Because that was really the behavior that was giving me the worst feelings. But I could choose to trust that they were not acting maliciously, to put my trust in that. And the more that I leaned into making that decision, I started to get a different feeling, right? I started to feel intrigued. Because if not acting maliciously, then why? Why would they have done the things that they did? But in that moment, intrigue felt better than resentment. And intrigue successfully created a path for me to re-engage in my work. So that's what I did. I made a conscious, productive choice to bring about a better feeling. That's step 3, the choice, right? You've recognized these feelings as a signal. You've accepted their invitation into your moment of opportunity to learn, to grow and evolve, weighing options. And then from those options, you're making a conscious, productive choice to inspire a better feeling and ultimately a better result, right? The signal, the opportunity, and the choice. So what, right? I do like to share what happened as a result of me cultivating this mindset, practicing it on a daily basis, reaching for my better. Well, at first, it just looked like me engaging with my colleagues in a different way, right? Seeking first to understand. But ultimately, I was inspired. I was inspired to write a series of intercompany articles that I called my diaries. And the intent was to share where I thought there was true strength in that business that needed to get reapplied and where I thought there were opportunities. And for one of those articles, I decided to interview several of my working team colleagues, including the one that I thought wronged me. And I asked questions like, what are you most proud of? And how do you think your functional expertise can not only explode results in this business unit, but also other businesses around the parent company? And in having these conversations, I discovered the fundamental differences in cultural norms across the two different companies. And come to find out, that colleague wasn't acting maliciously. They were just abiding by a different set of cultural norms. And in having these conversations, it was so eye-opening and healing for me. And when I published them out, I just wanted one person. I wanted one person to read them and feel the sense of healing that I felt, because it truly was tremendous. Y'all know what happened? It was nuts. It was crazy what happened. So that article, the one in particular with the interviews, became in the top 3 most widely read in the entire company for several weeks in a row. I think when it was all said and done, it had like over 6,000 reads. Now, let me calibrate y'all. So up until this point, I was lucky if I got like 100 reads on a report. So this is a really big deal. I had colleagues stopping me in the hallway, thanking me for writing their reports, saying how my words had helped nurture much needed conversation between them and their working team colleagues. But you know what the best part was? The best part of taking control of my work experience, working this mindset, looking for my better and the opportunities. I ended up going to a women's networking event, and we also invited a speaker in, and it was the president of that business. And in between, or during his talk, he pointed me out in front of everybody. He was like, "You're Cassandra, right?" And of course, I'm looking at this dude like a deer in headlights. I had no idea he knew who I was. He was like, "You're Cassandra, right?" He said, "I want to thank you for writing those reports." He said, "Although there were a couple points I didn't necessarily agree with, I want to thank you for the courage it took to write them." And then he got really honest with me and the rest of the group. And he said their most glaring mistake in the acquisition and the integration was not recognizing and fully embracing the differences in cultural norms across the two different companies. But he said it was perspectives like mine that helped he and his senior leadership team understand where those tension points lied so that they could create plans to address them. As a junior engineer in that company, I'd effectively influenced the culture of the organization from bottom to top, simply by taking control of my own work experience, reaching for that better and better feeling. Now, y'all, please don't get me wrong. I continued having challenges in that business. It wasn't all sunflower seeds and daisy petals. It wasn't all good, right? I don't quite know that saying. I always make it up. It wasn't all good. I continued having challenges. And at any given point in time, a better feeling might have looked like stress, because stress felt better than depression. A better feeling might have looked like annoyance, because annoyance felt better than rage. A better feeling might have looked like intrigue, because intrigue felt better than resentment. Yeah? So by working these steps to signal the opportunity and the choice, I actually ended up getting myself top rated in that business, landing a growth opportunity I would not have had I not transitioned into that business. So the more that you can work these steps, recognize your signal emotions, stepping into your moment of opportunity, choosing that better feeling and ultimately a better result, you're going to come to find that the really big changes, the biggest disruptions, they never happen to you, they happen for you, to serve your evolution to your absolute best self, enabling you to unleash that inner rock star that I know you all have within.
That's it for this week's episode. Be sure to check out trustedleadershow.com for all the show notes and links and information from anything mentioned in today's episode. And we are so excited to announce that the Trusted Leader Summit is happening again next year, November 7th through the 9th, 2023 at the JW Marriott Mall of America here in Minnesota. To find out more information or to register, head to trustedleadersummit.com. And if you haven't already, we would greatly appreciate a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, or wherever you get your podcasts, as this is a great way to help support the show and help others to discover it. But in the meantime, that's it for this week's episode. Thank you so much for listening. And until next time, stay trusted.